So this video is going to get a billion views eventually.
A billion. See, that's the other thing. I'm always going to be successful. You just got to give me more time.
Yeah,
I don't fail at anything. I just need more time. I'm just not done yet. Aloha and welcome to the show. This is the Hawaii Landman Show. And if it's not a really new brand, it's the same brand. Little different words to kind of help out and make it easier for folks to find us. And I have my expert at all of this kind of stuff here with me, my good friend Michael Long. Good to see you, Michael.
Yeah, good to be on.
Thanks for coming on. I always joke and call you my expert of these different things. You're not a jack of all trades, but you have done quite a bit of fun different things in business, right?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely say jack of all trades, expert at none.
Yeah, but you're really good at a lot.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say, because whenever you think about like jack of all trades, there's kind of this thought of like, jack of all trades, master of none. So you kind of like, you're not really good at anything. You just do a whole bunch of stuff. It's kind of the kind of imprint that goes with it, it seems like.
Yeah, I feel like that that's so in line with like if we end up talking about personal branding today. So just in the key of being, most people feel like you have to specialize in just one thing because here's a person that's the expert at this person's the expert at this. And whatever the field or industry is, you always want to go to the absolute best. Whereas for me, I guess if I had personal branding, it would be as someone who gives permission to be the best in a bunch of different areas. But
that's so great.
Yeah, but as far as within each business, I definitely don't brand it that way. I just, have completely different branding for every single business to make it look like, I specialize in this one niche, but it's really just the company that does that and different companies for different industries.
That's so smart. And it's, we're really getting in deep on the stuff that you and I have been talking about, offline. And, I don't know, full disclosure or whatever, but Michael and I talk all the time about different projects and this and that. And we have some business together. Michael's bought some land from me. We're doing some technology projects together, building a website and things like that. And I really get amazing. I always joke that I think I'm going to get like a certain something from Michael. Like I'm going to go learn this from Michael. No. I learned this whole other thing. And it winds up, I look back and go, that's so much more valuable than what I thought I was going to go figure out and learn. But anyway, we've been talking about branding. And so for anybody watching, I'll just kind of line it up and give you the background of it. We both have friends that we all kind of mentor each other, really. Would you say it that way, Michael?
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah. There are mentors and things like that. But we kind of talk to each other, run things past. And there are people who also look up to me specifically. I'll just talk about me. I have a couple of friends that call me. They're more kind of new, starting out, and they call me for advice. And it's not any sort of official mentoring where I get paid in some sort of something like that, but it's kind of a mentor relationship. And so this one fella's relaunching his brand as well, and I'm sort of getting into launching personal brand. So as we've been talking about that, branding is really, really important. And what I was saying right before we got on is that I've kind of gotten in, I like this kind of systemized form of branding to where it's you plus something else, right?
Yeah.
And to kind of niche it down.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about so as of this morning, like the conversation, you're kind of going with Hawaii Landman. So that's a brand new thing for you.
Sure.
And what you were just kind of explaining earlier is just the simplicity of it. Like just people remembering the most simple form of like, oh, he sells land in Hawaii, the Hawaii Landman. Yeah.
And so it's the so the formula that I heard somebody talk about, and it was actually Ryan Serhant that was talking about it online. And he was saying it's what you do that everybody else does also. Like his thing was real estate. And I was like, okay, well, I do land, and people know land, and you got to get specific and something to remember about you. And so we went with Landman Hawaii, and kind of had a little, flavor to it because it almost rhymes a little bit, and it's got Hawaii in there. But for personal branding, it's not just that like something catchy. It's got to be like something that identifies with you, that you carry through with and continue to do, right?
Yeah. Wait, explain that a little more.
Well, I was thinking about branding, and like some other friends that I've seen, their websites are like real super flashy and clean and pretty and beautiful. And a lot of what I do is more with raw land, so it's more like with construction and bulldozers and surveyors, and it's not like clean, pretty, like commercial real estate. Other guys that I work with that do like commercial real estate syndications, like their websites and their branding and everything is very different than what I'm doing. It wouldn't relate. Like if you put a video of
Yeah.
me in ocean view on lava rock, walking around in the dirt and measuring and surveying and such,
Yeah.
and then all this flashy commercial real estate style, you know,
Yeah.
it really has to be, I guess it has to be like a personality has to really come through in all that branding.
Yeah, and I feel like so much of that is really pinpointing who your customer is. Like you probably have completely different customers than them. They want someone that has a finished apartment that was just remodeled or just brand new built. Whereas for you, it's probably more the adventure type, almost pioneer that's willing to get raw land.
Yeah, for sure. See, I'm hearing and I'm getting, it's like I'm working on two different things at the same time. Like the image of the personality of my business, of who I am, and the customer of what they want to see.
Yeah. Yeah. So with personal branding, it's almost because you are the product in a way, a
Mhm.
lot of times.
Yeah, and that's the difference that we're talking about, because I was talking about, I've been doing business branding.
Right.
For example, we've had this business, and the brand that I've been, working with inside and with is Hawaii Escape Co. And that's still the brand. We still have that brand, and I'm expanding it to have beside the personal brand.
Right.
And so
Which
it's
is,
almost like two different businesses, but they're together. It's like a team of businesses. Yeah.
yeah. So now it's you as the Hawaii landman continuing to do kind of a similar model.
Yes. Like Hawaii Landman, you know, promoting Hawaii Escape Co.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my wife and I were doing videography for a while.
Hmm.
So with our videography business, instead of just being like Mike's videography or something like that, I think I have over like 50 domains just of like Maui videographer, Oahu videographer, Portland videographer, just on and on. And so with that, it's cool to have a bunch of different um companies that are all specialized at exactly what they do. So you go to the one site and you're like, oh, these are the best people in Maui for videography, even though I'm not in Maui right now. And so just, yeah, it's cool that you can have each entity. Yeah, as far as jack of all trades, it's interesting because as an individual, I can own a bunch of different companies that are all highly specialized at what they do, even though I personally am kind of a jack of all trades.
So your brand becomes the jack of all trades.
My personal brand might, but each of
Right.
the companies then have their own personal branding. So you could have Hawaii Landman and
Hmm.
all of the website and branding for Hawaii Landman as your face on it, but you could also have mainlandcommercial.com and it's a bunch of commercial buildings with your face on it. And so your personal branding, I don't know, it's just a weird thing when you mix in multiple different entities uh, that's attached to your personal branding. And that's definitely not the way most people would do it, but
It's worked for you.
slowly. Yeah,
Your branding is secret branding.
I guess at this point, I just don't have it dialed in yet.
No, but I mean, you do things it's kind of like private branding. That's not a good word. Branding, you usually want to talk about marketing, so you want to get out to everybody.
Yeah,
Well, you're like so high end with yours that it's only the few people who can even get your business card, so to speak, to even see your
yeah,
branding.
got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like you don't do mass branding where it's like you don't have a business card, right?
Right. Yeah, and I'm
So
not, yeah, trying to advertise or market most of it. So,
yeah, that gets back to that word of mouth. And I wanted to get into talking about that word of mouth marketing
okay.
that I keep kind of throwing out. And instead of it being that I'm paying to do some sort of creation of content, we've been working towards like adding value into our business. And so like
Hmm.
this next within in January, we've got it coming out. Like right now, we've added into where people can pay online. And so this is a huge step up for people in my industry who sell because the land and ocean view, a lot of people don't really have it dialed in or have it really raised up to a high value because they charge such a low amount. There's no extra to give any better service. They really just have
Right.
to give the bare bones. Some people like that. I mean, that's why there's different, levels of commerce. So we've got it to where people can pay online now. They can pay at the bank. In January, people are going to be able to pay at Longs with a QR code on their phone, and it goes automatically through our all through our accounting system. It updates on the website for them. They get an email about it.
Wow.
It's all getting dialed in. And the whole point is that we're putting so much back in that our customers, our clients, the people who are buying land from us, they tell everyone, I don't even really advertise. I got 3 calls today, and it's all people who are on our land
Yeah.
that want their sister-in-law, their brother, their friend.
Right.
And so the word of mouth marketing is really taken over.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's really it's so funny to be doing branding because branding to me is like the marketing on the front end to get people in the door.
Right.
And really we've been doing so much stuffing the value onto our customers that we already have. And
Right.
so pretty soon we're going to be getting into giving you know, more products to the same customers.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm looking at being able to give people renters insurance because they're
Okay.
buying a piece of land. And here's the
Right.
other thing, you can't insure this land. Most insurance companies won't do it.
Right.
And so the people who are buying the land, they have no insurance for the house or whatever it is that they have on the land. Say there were a natural disaster, there's no insurance for it. Well, we're going to be able to offer renters insurance because they're paying for it over time. And so that's something
Okay.
I'm working on. Don't if
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't come through, it's really kind of a different kind of a project, but I'm working on it. So that's something, like I said, we're just trying to add in so much value that it's just not even a comparison at all to where people look at our product and they would never even compare us to somebody else who sells an Ocean View because they just don't have even half of the stuff that we have.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm buying land from multiple different people in Ocean View, and it's so different versus like, so a lot of them are on monthly payments, and it's just every month I have to go to a bunch of different banks, and then one of them's through a separate management company, but even they are like so outdated. And so yeah, just being able to log in online and make a payment there definitely makes it easy.
And then so I hadn't even asked you about the other lands that you own as far as the price per month. Where would you
Right.
put them as far as pricing? Would you say that that's a result of them giving you super low pricing?
Um, I think it's just that most of them it's individuals and they just it doesn't make sense for them to be paying like whatever you're paying for your infrastructure.
Right.
For them, they're just like, oh yeah, just go to the bank and hand deliver a check or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I guess if they're not really taking it, making it a
yeah.
business.
Yeah, so on another one, it's through a management company, so I just have to pay an extra 50 a month for the management company's fee, but I still personally have to deliver the check every month. And so it's not even any, it doesn't seem much better to have it through a management company,
Yeah.
other than I know that there's someone on the other side actually going to send out yearly reports and tracking it. And so, yeah,
That's interesting. Hey, back to that friend I was telling you about. We talked offline. This friend I called you to tell about, and I was asking you advice. So what he was talking about is they've got him locked into some sort of a contract where he's not real happy with it. And you and I were talking, and I felt like I told him, I said, well, if they gotta enforce a contract on you, like that's not a good partnership to be in, right?
yeah, for sure. I think I mean, there's nothing wrong with contracts, but I think
Sure.
so. What we were talking about the other day is there's just such a different mindset of you mentioned even yeah, that a lot of millennials kind of have a certain way of thinking or whatnot. But yeah, it's the different mindset of people thinking that they need to like manipulate you or control you to keep a piece of whatever it is you're doing versus people that just know how to add value. And it's like for me with a lot of partnerships, it's like, gosh, if I'm not pulling my own weight or creating momentum with it, then I would want to remove myself from the partnership so that the business could keep going. Whereas other people, it's like, okay, like once I get my foot in the door, I'll just legally fight for my piece, even though I'm just slowing the whole thing down and adding no value to the company. And it's just so interesting the different mindsets.
Yeah, this fella, whenever he was describing it, I guess it's a, there were some young folks in the company, and so he was, the way he described it is it sounded like they it's so, like, they call it like a boomer con. You ever heard that name?
No,
Like boomers who, you know, pontificate about millennials are this and millennials are that and all the evils of millennialism and all that. And but it sure seemed like all the stuff that he was explaining seemed to really fit into like all the stereotypes. I was like, what? That seems so like a cartoon, like a business
right,
cartoon or something. So it seemed like his real young partner believes that just because like he's in the business, he doesn't have to add any value or anything, and they're just going to keep doing more stuff. And he was just so surprised. He was like, how can this guy think that's okay? And I was like, well, look at kind of the way that society's kind of worked around him, and these kind of memes of society that we see that are kind of repetitive. So anyway, he's trying to figure out how he can just add so much value into the business. And that's what's happening. He just keeps adding value and value. It's all the same stuff we talk about with
right.
marketing. And so I told him do that with your partners. Just add value, add value, add value. And it's what does Alex Hormozy say? He says you don't have to jab, 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 right hook. You can just jab, 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 and they'll lay down. And
Yeah,
so it's just adding in more value and more value. So anyway, I think the other great thing about that is you get to be a really good person too. Like whenever
yeah.
you're adding in more, oh, there's my co-star, by the way. This is the
Oh,
chairman of the board. Can you see him? There he is. Yeah, he just wanted to come say hi real quick. I think he's going back to his nap. Go back to your, oh, sorry, sir. Excuse me, sir. Back to your nap. I used to call him Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh.
I
You
love it.
familiar with Prince Philip at all?
No,
So I guess he's super like really posh and very, aristocratic, and he's Prince Philip for crying out loud. But he's just kind of a real jerk, also a snap at you. He was real snappy. That's him. If you don't do it, he's real pretty, he's real beautiful, and he's real classy. But if you don't do what he likes, he'll snap at you.
I love it.
Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. Anyway, so we were talking about um, partners who it felt kind of like a communal type feel, like almost communism or left side of the politics kind of feel, to where he was talking about he felt like he was trapped in this deal, and he couldn't go do something else. He called them golden handcuffs, and I've heard that a couple of times from a couple of different entrepreneurs. You ever heard people say that?
No, not yet.
Yeah, so I've heard a couple of entrepreneurs use this phrase, and I thought it was so strange to hear it, that they can make money together, but he doesn't feel like he can go do his own thing, and he feels kind of trapped in the business. He's like, well, that was the whole purpose to being an entrepreneur, was to do my own thing.
Hmm.
Well, I
Yeah,
told him you don't get everything.
that's so interesting. I'm so far removed from that or even that way of thinking. It just sounds so foreign. I
Yeah.
feel like for me, even if I was in a business where I had like a non-compete and all that type of stuff and was fully locked into it, it's like, okay, well, that's just one niche or one opportunity. There's just endless opportunities and other verticals. And it's like you can take all the same like tools and everything you learned in that one business and jump to a completely different vertical and just kind of transform that other space. And so yeah, for me, just having a bunch of different entities or a bunch of different brands, it just seems like that frees you from that type of situation. And so yeah, it to me just seems so old school, that way of thinking of locking in your partners in a business. And it's weird how it's not even a partnership thing, but even just families or communities, friend groups, they all do something so similar. And it's just, yeah, seems so, I guess, outdated or limiting to me.
Yeah, like how has marriage changed, to where you're like trapped in it and you can't get out versus from the threat of losing all your stuff or whatever, or the threat of having a
Right.
bad life instead of, hey, let's have a really good life in this marriage. The reason I should stay in this marriage and should stay in this business and should stay with this company or whatever it is in life,
Yeah.
is because it's so much better than not having it.
Yeah, and again on that note, I feel like I'm just so far removed from, I guess, your normal perspective on that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I just definitely looked out with marriage. Like my wife and I just, yeah, are having a great time doing a bunch of different businesses and yeah, really loving it. But yeah, I hear the same kind of mindset from so many different marriages and just yeah, it's I wish I knew more kind of what's at the core of it or the motivator behind it.
Yeah. Hey, whenever I talked to our mutual friend Brett the other day, we were talking
Mhm.
about did you see when I was talking to him and he kept talking about fantastic deals?
No, I missed that.
Have you ever heard him talk about that before? I think I've heard him
Uh-uh.
mention it once or twice. He said, I work with these high level folks, and he goes, one of the reasons they sit around and they just say no, 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 no is because they're waiting for fantastic deals. And they
Interesting.
realize, yeah, and he realized that because of what they do, the how they provide into the community for what they do, like just starting businesses and creating jobs, creating what people want. All businesses are giving people what they want, or else they wouldn't
Right.
make any money. And so by doing that, they realize that they're creating, they're fantastic. They can create this large amount of what people want. So they deserve fantastic deals because they're giving fantastic value. It's just that word, just the way he said it and the way it lined up, it made a lot of sense to me
Interesting.
about passing on, regular deals.
Yeah, for sure.
And like regular folks who do regular things go and do regular deals. And there's plenty of regular deals for regular folks who are not really willing to do anything extraordinary for anybody else or really add more value that's really extra for
Right.
people. They want to do the regular, not the extra. And so they get regular deals. And that's
Right.
the way it goes. They provide regular value. But there's some small group of people that really try to provide a extra, that fantastic amount of value.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah,
whenever
which
he said, I keep that in my mind all the time.
interesting. Yeah, which comes full circle back to the personal branding and stuff of just as far as yeah, when you're branding or you have a company or a product, if you're ordinary, then the only competitive advantage you have is competing on price. And
Yes.
so you're just going to get all these really cheap customers and clients that think that they just want to bid you down type of a thing.
Yep.
Whereas if you're the best at whatever it is you do, it's just you can charge whatever you want and not even have to do marketing or anything. It's people come looking for you because you're the one who's known as being fantastic at that thing.
Yeah. And then, I kind of feel like I heard that forever and I ignored it and ignored it. And there was an argument going on in the back of my mind. And that crappy part of me was like, well, I mean, what's the point of that? You mean I just have to go work my butt off and get really, 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 really good at something? Like, where's the cheat? Where's the hack? Where's the special way to do it? And there really isn't. You just go
Or
get
that
good
is
at
the
it.
hack.
What's that?
That is the hack, is
That
just
is the hack.
yeah, getting good at it and you just jump so far ahead. Like there's
Yeah,
just no comparison.
there really is. I
Yeah.
mean, there's really just no comparison. And that's what we did by making so much value is you just can't even compare our business to other businesses that do the same
Yeah.
thing. It's really, really changed the game for us dramatically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to the like my videography days. So my wife Ashley was starting, she was like wanting to do like real estate videos and just kind of starting to get that company going.
Hmm.
And I think she was starting out with pricing of like doing big discounts and all that. And I think she was charging like $80 a day. And so she's in conversation with this realtor, and the realtor is just like talking her down, being like, oh, like I could just do it with my iPhone. Why would I pay you $80? And Ashley's just like, oh man, like I know my time is worth more than this, but I'm just having trouble finding customers and they're just talking me down. But I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway and just kind of be building up my portfolio in that area. And I'm like, okay, like what are the dates? And like the only day that the realtor wanted to do it was we were making 8 grand the same day for doing video. And it's just for a different customer. And it's like a niche that we were the best in. And
Uh-huh.
it's like, wow, like it's so easy to be talked down by others that like, oh, your time isn't worth anything. And even though you're discounting yourself, I'm going to discount you even more. And then meanwhile, if you're just like, no, I'm the best at whatever this thing is, and you truly go out to become the best, that is such a shortcut. And then even from there, just other people like lift you up into it even more, and it just becomes so much easier.
And I think you're on a track to stop a lot of that because I think school might set us up for like minimum achievement
Yeah.
mentality. Like this is the minimum you have to do to get this grade. This is the minimum amount of work you have to do to finish that, that year of school, to go to the next one, to go to the next one. And then it's a minimum amount to graduate. And then there you go. You're the same as everybody else. You have a certificate and you did the minimum, and whoever did the very top. And really
Right.
doesn't matter. Y'all got a certificate.
Yeah, and then even within that, it's you being the best in school, you can't get more than 100%. And so
Yeah.
it's like to be the best, there's just this really low ceiling where it's like, okay, like I'm hitting 100% every day, but like so what? So are the other peers in that area. Whereas with business,
Yeah.
it's like, no, you could hit 1,000,000%. And it's
Yeah.
just learning to, yeah, become truly fantastic at whatever it is that you're specialized in.
That word just works so well, doesn't it, for what we're
Yeah.
describing? And it really, it okay, so how do you get fantastic then? Because people are like, well, everybody just can't be fantastic. Well, yeah, everybody can be fantastic at their specific thing they do, but
Yeah.
we all kind of do a lot.
So it's shockingly easy to become the very best in the world at something. And it's because all you have to do is get specialized. And so I mean, as far as like Hawaii landman, it's there is no other Hawaii landman. And
Right.
so it's not that someone else couldn't be. It's just you're the only one doing that in Hawaii and
Exactly.
like being
Yes.
known as that. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, just that quickly you're like, cool, I'm the best in the world at this now, at specifically Hawaii land.
Hmm.
Just because no one else is in the space.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even still, it's like,
I don't sell oceanfront,
yeah,
commercial. I don't sell all this other stuff. I'm not trying to do a little tiny bit of everything. I just
yep,
have that one little thing I do.
yep. And then it's like, yeah, if it was a really competitive space, it's like, cool, just get more specific. And so being like, I sell oceanfront yurts on the south side of this island, and
Yeah.
I'm the best person in the world at that one very specific thing. And it's just it's truly so easy to become the best in the world at something. Um, and just yeah, I think it's just not a desirable thing that's taught, even though it's such an easy shortcut.
It's just shocking to hear you say it, but I know it's true after I thought about it for a second. But to say it's just so easy to become the best in the world at something, it's like, well, why don't we all do it?
That's a great question.
That is a question. Why don't we do it? We want to please everybody, right?
Yeah, and I think it kind of so our last podcast, we were just talking a lot about like value and permission. And I
Hmm.
think so much of it really does go back to that again of just like, oh, who do you think you are to be the best in the world at this thing? And it's like as soon as you give yourself permission, it becomes really easy.
It's a really good example of focusing up on something is jugglers.
Okay, explain that.
It's a completely ridiculous skill that has no use at all to anybody, but
Mm-hmm.
you can become world famous by being the best juggler.
Yep.
I mean, I know jugglers on stage on cruise ships make $2,000-3,000 a week. They
Yeah.
juggle two nights a week. They juggle for about half an hour to an hour or whatever,
Okay.
and all they do is juggle.
Yeah. I, a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, but I feel that same way about so many things, especially I've never followed many sports, but I
Yeah,
could list four different sports where it's like you're just a bunch of people on a field passing a ball back and forth. Like,
yeah,
who cares? Like, I'm so used to watching like basketball games where I'm like, why don't the two teams just work together and each team could get like 400 points in a game? You'd set all these new records and like I don't get like what are you guys trying to accomplish and couldn't you all do that better together? And it's just yeah, but the idea that me throwing a ball on the other side of a field could make I could be world famous at that just because I'm so it's not even the thing you specialize in needs to be a valuable thing for the world. Just the fact that you're good at it is important enough.
and I mean, it works.
I guess.
I mean, I, I feel the same way about sports, but I guess I've heard so much people saying, "Oh, it's entertaining," and well, I guess there's value in the entertainment, and there's value in like spending people's time and all this kind of thing.
Yeah. I think people just so highly value someone becoming good at something. And so like I think for me when it really clicked was like watching, I think it was snowboarding at the Olympics. And I'm like, this guy's just sliding down the snow on a board. Like, who cares? But because he became so excellent or so fantastic at that one thing, the entire world is watching, being like, yeah, that thing you're doing has no value, but you're so good at it that the entire world is inspired by it. And it's just so interesting.
That is really interesting. You ever seen uh it's a thing called People Are Awesome? I think it
Oh
might be on
yeah.
Facebook. You ever seen that?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they just
Those
make these
videos.
videos of people that are
Hmm.
just doing amazing things.
Yep. That's so inspiring.
And that's exactly it though. None of it, half of it's like guys stacking plates or some skill that you would never think, oh wow, just stacking plates and getting
Right.
them in the dishwasher quicker or however they do it and all this neat stuff they do.
Yep.
But it's fascinating to just watch anybody who's good at anything.
Yep.
Man, I guess it's kind of equally unpleasant to watch people who are bad at things.
But equally as entertaining, probably.
Maybe. Well, here's one. Try to sit with an elderly person trying to enter their password with a remote control.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can picture that.
That's watching somebody do something, being bad at something, and just not being able to get better at it, just having a hard time with it.
Yeah.
And it's
Hmm.
like painful. Think about like it's like uncomfortable.
Right.
And so it's equally nice the other way, watching somebody really good at something.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
What a motivation to just get good at stuff.
Yep.
The I got this fellow I talked to, and he's talking all the time about 1%,
Okay.
getting 1% better every day instead of
Right.
trying to get like, man, I want to make my this 50% better. Well, that's a big jump. 50% better, really? Like right away?
Right.
Well, you can do 1% every day, just one little percent every day. And so
Yeah.
I've been working on that. And like tidiness is a really simple one for me. I've been working towards
Right.
just constantly tidying and looking around and anything that's out of place, because it's just a simple 1% to make things 1% better. Because I started realizing also, you look at well-to-do people's homes, they didn't get wealthy and then they started making their house nice.
Interesting.
They always kept their house nice.
Right.
And even whenever we were living in those plywood boxes in Ocean View and
Hmm.
little tiny basically sheds, everything inside we would keep it orderly and nice and stacked and hang things on the wall and build shelves, and so that everything just isn't just laying around everywhere and
Right.
everything's in its place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a huge help for me.
Yeah. It's such a reflection of what's going on internally with
Mhm.
their own mind, their own value, and all that. Because you could take someone, who doesn't have that same value and just put them into a really nice home, and just immediately you'll see messes form around wherever they are just so that they feel more at home or more comfortable. And it's almost like they're not worthy of being at the nice place that they're in. um, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I always think of it like they don't know, or even
Okay.
whenever I see myself doing it, because I don't think, I don't think, oh, I want to make this messy to make it more comfortable. I don't think that.
No,
I'm
it's
sure they
very
don't think that.
subconscious.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
You know, I wonder how, yeah, how to move it the other direction.
Yeah, I
So
haven't figured it out.
anyway, we were
Yeah.
talking about whenever, back in the prehistoric days of the internet, back whenever we didn't have, this is easy now. Like we just pop on Zoom real quick. We just pop in to see video to the other person. We didn't have anything like this. We were trying to make, it was like 5 minutes to upload a picture to MySpace. And it was just
Right.
like, it was crazy, but we were doing it. And to see how far it's come now, where everybody's on it and everybody's doing it, and we were preaching it many, many years ago, it's really easy to see the trends forward still now too.
Yeah.
Like it just keeps going. It's the same direction.
So what was kind of your start with that? What were some of the projects you were doing in the beginning?
So we had the fella Claude that I had on the other day. This is about like 2005. We were in Las Vegas, and we called it internet radio. And so I had a show called Power Talk, and it was a 1 hour per day radio show like this, but it was just radio. So we would just record it, and then like we just had it on a website that we didn't even know how to promote. Like, how we would make this and put it onto like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube
Right.
and all that. Well, YouTube wasn't even out till 2007. It didn't even exist in 2005 when we were doing it. And so we didn't know how to like upload videos super easy. So it'd take like all day. We'd be messing with the internet, and people were like, what are y'all doing? Aren't you an investment firm? What are you doing? Oh, on MySpace. And people thought we were crazy, and we were, and it didn't really work. But look now, it's so super easy. And
yeah, you were too far ahead of your time.
Oh well. That's what they say in investment, when the guys are like, I'm not wrong, I'm too soon. Well, too soon is wrong, bro.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Too soon is wrong. Yeah, but we were definitely ahead of our time. We thought Twitter was, whenever it came out, it was for, we thought it was to go meet people somewhere.
Interesting.
Yeah, the way it was promoted at the very beginning. Remember how, I don't know if you've heard anybody talk about, a lot of social media gets set up to be used one way, and then how the users use it is how they use it.
Right.
Yeah. So Twitter, originally it was getting promoted as you just, you get people to follow you and all that, and then you tweet out where you are. So we were like,
Right.
oh, advertising, because we said we're internet radio. We're just like radio, but we're internet. So we're going to promote your little tiny business pizza shop. So we had a pizza shop a couple blocks down from our office, and we're eating in there all the time. And we're constantly telling the owners, we do internet radio. And, he's like, okay, whatever. Great. Yeah. No, thanks for letting us know. And so we finally sell them on the idea that we're going to do ads, and we're going to get people to come in and do like I don't know. He gave us like $500, and we're going to promote this one night. And so we did it on Twitter, and we did it on MySpace, and we got a couple of people in there and had a little music night. And it was huge for us. We actually had an event.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, we thought we were real pioneers, and then we stopped doing that and moved on back into other stuff in real estate. And now flash forward, 15, 17 years later, it's exactly what you do with social media. It's exactly what everybody does with social media.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. And now it just seems like second nature, like we've had it forever, when in reality it's this brand new thing.
Well, it also seems like we've had the advertising forever.
Right.
Like think of how slick the advertising is now.
Yeah.
Remember what I don't know if you remember the advertising in 2005 was very like just ham-fisted, just really gross. And well, a lot of that advertising the technology came from like the porn industry, right?
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, that's kind of, I don't know if that's internet myth. I'm pretty sure that's kind of like internet, the way it kind of went down.
Yeah.
is they figured out how to actually take money online.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
and so once they figured that out, they were like, we can actually make money. And then it just got better. Well, we can make money. We got to be able to put up more pictures. So then they figured out how to load up pictures quicker, I guess. And
Right.
whatever it needed for the business to service that business became new technology they created. And then other people just, now we have YouTube and Zoom and look at all this stuff we have.
Right. Yeah. Now with advertising, it's insane how targeted you can get with your customer. And so even just like within Google Ads, you can have it where basically I could type in a specific person's name and anyone's, it goes and checks all the emails for like a name or keyword or whatever it is. And if that person's name is in your emails, I could send the ads just to you. And it's just insane how highly targeted and almost, yeah.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah. Like it's just crazy how everything's tracked now, even to the point of like your private emails. And so, and I mean, supposedly just your conversations on your phone or whatnot. But you can just get so targeted with it nowadays, which is a good thing as long as yeah, it's not too invasive.
That sounds pretty invasive. So
It does.
it sees a name. So say I'm an advertiser and
Hmm.
I want to advertise Alex Alexander, Landman
Okay.
Hawaii. And
Right.
so it sees, somebody else wants to advertise like off the back of my advertising. And so they
Right.
know that I've emailed all these people, and with Landman Hawaii, they
Yep.
can they can email all those same people that got the same email with my name in it.
Yeah, so I could send an ad to anyone that got your email.
Wow.
Yeah, just by searching for that keyword in the email. So,
It's crazy.
um,
That's some espionage style, yeah.
yeah, it definitely seems like it.
It
So
sure does
it,
feel like it.
yeah. And so it gives you a lot of tools that if you get creative within how you're targeting and retargeting and all of that, you can get yeah, pretty dialed in on your advertising. So
It kind of feels like it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, and not it goes back to, but it kind of like it's the same kind of attitude of being able to kind of slip in instead of adding value.
yeah, for sure. Um,
Like slipping into somebody's email. I'm sure, because to tell you the truth, if I get unsolicited emails and stuff like that, I'm sure most people don't like it, right?
yeah. And so it's not even so much that you're slipping your ads into their emails. It's just you're able to know what conversations they're currently having so that you can just fine tune exactly who you're sending your messages to. As in like your YouTube ads or whatever ads you're running.
And really, I mean, the ultimate way around all that is to develop your own audience to market to, right?
Yeah. And so in developing your own audience, you just from the very beginning, let's say with selling lots, just being able to go, okay, who's already interested in lots in Hawaii and how do you find that out? And so being able to know almost their private conversations definitely makes it easier to pinpoint who you want to send ads to.
And you can do that through the emails.
Yeah, and Facebook ads and all that. It's just, it's incredible how targeted you can get.
That's great.
Yep.
It's great for business.
Yep. Definitely great for advertisers.
Maybe not so great for whatever the privacy or
Yeah.
whatever. Is that what
For
people are
freedom.
unhappy about? Freedom.
Yep. But
I'm going into making a lot more content. I've been making videos for a little while and interviewing people. And I get real fortunate that I know other high performers and folks that'll willing to come talk to me like Michael. And so as I'm getting into creating more content, one of the big strategies I'm using is just massive content. So I'm going to be creating just a lot of content. And so, um, you know, you kind of get into creativity, I don't know, like blockages or stops. And do
hmm.
you work with a lot of people who are creating content and how they work with that?
Yeah, and yeah, that's such a interesting thing. So just within music too, especially your writer's block and whatnot. Um, yeah, so I don't have a solution around it, but
I think one of the things is, like what I've been doing and it works to different degrees every day, because whenever you're trying to make, okay, so here's what I'm going through. I'm trying to make a certain amount of content, every week, and trying to
Okay.
kind of get on a schedule. And so you hit these kind of like peaks of creativity, and being consistent about it is something I'm going through with everything in my businesses and life. And so the same thing with this creativity, trying to kind of like make myself be creative at certain times of the day. And so I'm winding up with, and since I'm forcing myself to kind of do it, that's what I'm doing is, they say writers will just start writing nothing.
Right.
Like they'll just start writing. Well, I'll just start creating like video and like throw half of it away and stuff like that, to try to force something to just start. And so what
Yeah.
I'm finding is just like starting something, and like literally I'll find myself frozen, and it's just starting, putting on the camera and getting going
Yeah.
kind of makes it get going.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, and applying that to so many other things. It's almost getting a like information overload before you start something and just being like, you know what, I just got to start making the steps. I have to just start creating momentum. And from there, momentum always follows momentum.
Yeah, for sure. I found momentum in business big time, especially in what I've been doing for the advertising, because I didn't realize, I guess I realized it, but I grew up with TV. So on TV, you watch it the one time and you just watch it the one time and it's gone. It
Hmm.
doesn't have a lot of replay. And so the big difference with the internet is I've made these videos, but the old ones from, a year ago are much more popular by the numbers, just because they're older and they've had more time of being there.
Right.
And so they have like 10 times more clicks than new stuff, even though they're not even better videos or anything like that. So the
Right.
age of stuff is really getting interesting to me, how having videos that have been on for a long time is really helping out.
Right. Yeah. So, and on that note, it's interesting because how long will those videos be there? And just like looking forward, like I can't help but wonder if people like 5,000 years from now are going to look back at this video and be like, oh, this was like, I don't know, like equivalent to us looking back at Egyptians like writing when paper was first created.
Yeah.
This is what people thought the internet was back when it was very first created. Here's one of the original videos, and it's like this very podcast. And
Yeah.
it's just weird to think thousands of years from now, this will still exist and people might still be watching it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just electrical impulses, right? It's just all this electrical
Right.
information goes into storage somewhere, right?
Right.
So we'll see if the storage gets passed on to the next
Yep.
iteration of whoever we are.
So this video is going to get 1 billion views eventually.
A billion. See, that's the other thing. I'm always going to be successful. You just got to give me more time.
Yeah,
I
for
don't
sure.
fail at anything. I just need more time. I'm just not done yet.
Yep.
Dan Sullivan talks about that. He's a writer who wrote a book called Who Not How, and he got a really really great concept about that. And he says, well, you never, tell me your dreams, but tell me what you want to do, and really make them big. And he gets them out, and then he goes, okay, well, um, how long are you planning to do that? And he gives them, the time is always like 5 or 10 years. And he goes, well, what if I give you 50 years?
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I started thinking of a lot of things like that, like making 50-year plans.
Right.
It did get a little challenging for me because I started getting off into big, huge plans that are so large, that can be a real challenge. But setting 50-year, where you want to be in 50 years, and then
Right.
just breaking them. What I learned is breaking them down into small, little tiny steps, and realizing
Yeah.
that this little tiny thing I'm doing right now is still contributing towards what I'm doing for 50 years.
Can you share any of those 50-year plans?
Yeah. So what I was talking about with growing kelp and growing,
Oh, okay.
well, some of it's kind of got pulled out from under me, because stuff I wanted to do, like I wanted to buy Kahuku Ranch. Kahuku Ranch
Right.
is a 650-acre ranch in the south of Big Island. And so that's been bought by someone else. And it's really, see, I'm detached from the outcomes also. I have these 50-year goals, but I'm kind of detached from the outcomes because, well, I'm detached from the outcome, but I'm not detached from the intention. The intention was I want the entire south of Big Island, Hawaii, that whole southern area, to have more agriculture. I want there to be more jobs and more agriculture in the area. And so the goal was to buy Kahuku Ranch and lease water down below Kahuku
Okay.
Ranch, lease out water from the state, and then release out and grow seaweed and feed the cows seaweed and have a virtuous cycle. It's called a apuaha, and where the nutrients are carried out into the water and feed the kelp, and then the kelp comes back and feeds the cows, and the cows feed the nutrients of the land, and the rain takes the water back down. And so I was working on it, and this is the kind of project that takes a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so somebody bought the ranch that I was working on that one specifically. So the intention was to have more jobs and more agriculture. The people that bought it are going to have more jobs and more agriculture. So I got the goal of the intention. So I'm not upset about it. I'm happy about it. Right.
Yeah.
But I've lost that kind of like 50-year specific goal. I was working towards that. Right.
Okay.
And some other relationships and business relationships I have were towards that goal.
Yeah.
So now I have the relationships still, and they actually turned out to be really nice relationships. So even though they didn't take me to that 50-year goal, along the way part is really nice.
Yeah, that's cool. So you're still getting the end result. So on that specific ranch where they're bringing in more agriculture and jobs, I assume they're not integrating kelp at all, though.
No.
Okay.
The other thing about that is the kind of kelp that I wanted to grow is not good to grow here in the waters.
Oh, and that's good to know.
Yeah. The other thing is it's probably, it would be considered an invasive species here.
Right.
And so it's not natural here. And so it wouldn't, so it's not a dead end to the entire project. There are other kinds of kelp that are being grown, and they're not kelps, they're seaweeds.
Okay.
They're being grown here, and they're being fed to cattle for kind of a different reason. It's a different kind of kelp. But the ultimate goal was to have that whole industry be advanced and do better. And so that's happening without me anyway.
And then, so the goal for having more jobs, I assume that's just so that the city over there can just continue to grow. People can have income and not have to drive 2 hours each way for a job. It's interesting how even just people working remotely now, like you can get the same result with a completely different method.
Yes. And that's kind of some of the stuff I've been adjusting. We, our original goal when we very first started buying and selling land, we said, we want to make it better for our neighbors.
Okay.
And we said, we want better neighbors, but what we meant was we want to make it better for our neighbors, for them to have a better opportunities and things to live there. And so this was before 2020, before COVID and everything changed and people want to work remote and all that. And so it didn't take away our desire to make things better for the people that live in Ocean View.
Right.
And it just kind of changed how we can help that.
Yeah. And
we haven't settled on exactly, specifically big projects like we have before. And so mainly what we've been doing is just buying and selling the land and adding value to the people who already live there. So that's been the big project lately.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. I would need to do my own research, but I'm curious if you could even make a list of like, hey, here's 50 companies that are almost always hiring remotely, and giving that list to the people presently in Ocean View, being like, hey, if you want to make extra income or whatever, like here's a way you can do it from home.
For sure.
'Cause I'm sure it's something that most of the people there wouldn't even consider. Yeah.
Well, there's some basics that are even before that. A lot of folks on the top side don't even can't get internet.
Yeah, that's good.
So there's some other basics before that we're working on for, and I'm not like a mayor or anything. I don't work for a city, but I almost not yet. But I almost try to take on the role if I can. If there anything that I've in the past met with different, community leaders and people from the sanitation department and different county leaders and civil defense and all that, just to try to talk to them to promote the value of the people who live in Ocean View and treat them good and make it a good, awesome community. So,
yeah.
Anyway, it being detached from the outcome, but really attached to the intention.
Yeah.
Like I intend for what I want is for the people to have a better life. Well, the outcome that I wanted was to get the ranch and have more jobs and all that. Well, the outcome didn't happen the way that I wanted. It
Yeah.
doesn't take away the intention that I still want the lives of the people there better. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And we've moved into town for a little while. And here, hopefully, one of the other goals for this next year is to buy another house out there again, so that we'll be back and forth half and half. That was the
Cool.
original goal. And then 2020 slowed that down.
Yeah.
That's over. Well, I shouldn't say that's over. I might get in trouble. That part of it that slowed us down is not slowing us down as much. So that part's up. But anyway, we can get back to trying to work on that again.
So on that note, are you expecting there to be any kind of dip with the housing market there, or do you think it's just going to continue to shoot up?
So interesting how it happens, isn't it? I think in the mainland there's going to be a huge dip, but over here it just keeps going up. It's like it gets up, and then when everybody else dips, it just stays steady.
Right.
It doesn't really go back down.
Right.
But I've been pushing the land values up myself, so it's not artificial. I'm working to keep pace with the rest of the economy. I'm working to keep pace with what I think pricing should be, and the market supports the pricing.
Right.
Really, the lower value pricing gives lower value to customers. It drives the prices down lower. It's a virtuous cycle of high pricing. High pricing allows me to give the better value to the customers, and it makes the value and the price keep going up.
What do you think is the main thing that keeps Ocean View so cheap right now? So I just assumed that it's because nobody knows about it, but maybe the lack of jobs was a big factor for a while.
I think the lack of a couple of other services, bank, pharmacy is a big one. A lot of folks that want to live there, they're far away from jobs. So they're going to be a lot of times older, and they're going to need their pharmacies and doctors and such.
Right.
And so that's a big gap for those folks.
Okay.
And so a lot of the older folks that live there travel to the mainland for healthcare.
Wow.
Or they're just in good enough health that they're there until their health gets to where they need to pay attention to it, and then they go back to the mainland.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons we have a lot of churn in the properties.
Okay.
Because their kids don't usually move over here. They usually move to where their kids are.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is there a high enough population there right now for like the banks and pharmacies to come in, or would there need to be a larger city there?
It's an interesting question, because people that are there use banks.
Right.
There's about 10,000 people that live out in that area. Because Ocean View, I always say Ocean View because that's the main subdivision that I work in. It's the largest one. But I think there are 15 subdivisions within about a half-hour drive.
Okay.
So it's a really, that whole area is about 7,000 to 10,000 people.
Okay.
And that's kind of depending on which part of the year that you catch it and how many people are there, because a lot of people go back and forth.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then also the commercially zoned area, would that allow for that expansion as far as the banks and pharmacy to come in, or would they need a larger commercially zoned section?
Oh no, there's a huge commercial section. There's about 30 acres of commercial. 23 of them are already together.
Okay.
And that's all owned by one company.
Okay.
And so that one company kind of has a little De Beers type situation, like their diamonds, keeping the rentable real estate scarce and the price high.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they also do, I'm not really thrilled about the way that they run it, because they tend to suck out the value. And it's really easy to look at the properties. And I actually have 2 of their other properties right here by my office in Kona.
Right.
Same company, large company. I won't throw their name out. I have in the past. But anyway, they own quite a few big commercial areas all through the Big Island, and all of them are in really poor condition. And so, I don't understand how they can charge so much. And it's such a, I do understand. It's because it's scarce. It's very, very scarce. And so the high quality tends to go. I've actually talked to some of the people that work there, and the high quality goes to other places, not here.
Okay.
And
other cities.
Yeah. It seems to me it's really easy because I manage portfolios. I'm a portfolio manager. I can look and see, you have this one asset that's making the same amount of money as this other asset, but the quality of this one is really, really low, and the quality of this one is really, really high. It's subsidizing. Got it. Because the cost of the really high one, they have a high cost of land, and over here they have a low cost of land. So it's, I see how they do it with their portfolio, and it's probably smart because they actually make quite a bit of money, and they have land everywhere. And so
Right.
they're obviously pretty smart. Really sucks for the people that live there because they're paying the same amount for commercial real estate as you pay right down here on Kona on Ali'i Drive, where it's super expensive. It's the same
Right.
amount per square foot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so it's hard to be out there and get anything going whenever it's like that, and especially when it's so scarce.
I wonder if there's any solutions to that, like maybe just zoning more for commercial or
I guess that would dilute down the quality, the value of theirs, but really, I don't think the county would do that. I don't think they're going to zone more commercial when there's already commercial. That's going to say you need to develop.
okay, even though the other company already owns it all. So,
Well, that another company is supposed to develop. It's
oh,
23
got it.
acres. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's 23 acres total. It's
Yeah.
only developed on 4 acres.
Okay.
So there's around 20 acres to develop.
Oh, okay.
It
Yeah, I
could,
wasn't aware
yeah.
of that.
So the bank, pharmacy, all the stuff that we're talking about,
Right.
there is 20 acres right there together, ready to
Yeah.
expand to strip mall. There's 4 acres already being done over on the Lehua Court.
Okay.
So that's a development called Lehua Court by a gentleman named Steve. And so he's working on 4 acres. They've already got it. It's zoned commercial,
Okay.
and it's C10 Village. So they have the ability. They can make a boutique hotel.
Okay.
And
Cool.
so he's been working to launch an IPO for quite a few years. I think he's been on it for about 12 years.
Wow.
But I think he's a developer and probably has another deal here in Kona that might be a little bit tied up.
Got it.
So developers all have their own deals. And just like
Yeah.
me, I have my own stuff going on in my life and projects I'm doing, and they all have stuff that they're doing too, that one gets held up for the other.
Right.
So he's been working on this one here. Probably when this one here finishes, they'll have the money to kick off that one there.
Cool. Well, that's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting, isn't it?
Do you ever picture like a Longs type place coming into there?
Completely.
Cool. Would you say that's 50 years out or 5?
No, I think it's more like 5.
Okay.
As soon as I can get any of them to pay attention, there are going to be a couple of just KPIs. I think it's going to have to do with land value and tax assessment.
Right.
Like how many properties assess at this amount of money within this amount of space to the commercial center. I think it's going to
Okay.
be a couple of KPIs like that. They're going to have to hit certain numbers, and then it'll just launch.
Got it. That makes sense.
Not it'll just launch on its own.
Yeah.
The right people will take notice, and it'll go.
Cool.
I think there's probably people that are paying attention. I know there are people that are paying attention. There's a Chevron that's owned by a family named Patels, and they also own land out there. And there's
Okay.
3 or 4 different companies and families that are in the area and near Ocean View that own land in key parts of Ocean View.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's plenty of people that are sitting around waiting and watching, and I
Got
think
it.
they're paying attention to KPIs of. I think it has to do with land value.
Okay. And once the land value's higher, it would be more worth it for them to. It's so funny because to me, like from my perspective, the land value can't go up until those basic essentials are there. So I have so much excitement for the Ocean View area and like my vision for what it's going to look like. And so I've been bringing in some other people to be like, hey, you should really buy out here. Like it's not going to stay this cheap. And they're
Yep.
looking at it just like, your grocery store is just disgusting. Like you don't even have a real bathroom. There's an outhouse outside of the grocery store, and even that isn't being managed right. And it's just, how could anyone live here? And so I don't see those KPIs changing until, I don't know, those families put in some basic essentials, or I guess sell the land to someone who will develop on it. Yeah, it's
So I
crazy
mean,
to me.
there we're back to the minimum requirements.
Okay.
Remember we were talking about like how school teaches you the minimum amount to get out. Here's the minimum
Right.
amount for you to be just barely smart enough to work, a minimum wage job.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like the people there are doing the minimum. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, well, we have you're required to have a toilet. Okay, well, there's a porta potty. It's the
Right.
minimum required. And it's kind of an attitude that's there, and we get it a lot from the folks, who buy too. What's the minimum to be able to build, and all this kind of thing.
Right. Interesting.
It's a challenging mentality, And
Yeah.
really, by setting the price where we do, we don't get a lot of folks. We've kind of moved away from it. It used to
Yeah.
be that way a lot more than it is now. Whenever we first started selling to people, we were trying to race to the bottom, like you were saying.
Okay.
We weren't trying to set ourselves up as a different kind of product. Everybody had the same product as us. It's all raw land. It's all an ocean view. It's
Right.
nothing different. And
Right.
so we had to put the service on top of it to make it a different product we were selling.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so like when these folks call me, I actually talk to them. I've been out and measure with people, and I
Yeah.
work out conflicts between neighbors and all this stuff that pretty much all my other folks that I work with, they're like, no, I don't do none of that. I don't talk to them. As soon as they,
Yeah.
as soon as they sign the paperwork, I don't even answer the phone. And
Wow.
well, all you're doing is selling them a piece of land. Why are they calling? That's really the mentality I started out with was, you're just buying a piece of land from me. Why are you calling me, asking me questions? You're supposed to go figure it out. You're supposed to be
Right.
responsible enough. And so
Yeah.
I had to find because I still want to have that attitude of, you are buying a piece of land. I'm not going to come hold your hand and do the survey for you. You're going to have to figure some things out. But I
Right.
can help you. I can point you in the right direction, because a lot of people don't know what's a survey. Well, I can
Right.
tell you what a survey is. I'm not going to call the guy and get, book it for you. I'll
Right.
tell you what it is. And, you can go find them on Google and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And even just that little step up in service, I'm kind of being flippant about it the way I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
Just having that level of talking to people and explaining is quite a bit more than they're going to find anywhere else.
Oh, for sure.
And so we just that 1% more, we're constantly improving and doing the 1% more, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better all the time.
I feel like even just the you providing in-house financing, that's a major thing there's very few places on mainland that you're going to find anything like that. So to be able to buy land in Hawaii on financing is just, pretty cool.
That's that value stack.
Right.
The capital stack is reflective of the value stack.
So you were saying everyone asks what's the minimum they can build in Ocean View? Are there any CCRs, or what is the minimum there?
There is let's see. It's it used to be 600 square feet. So
Okay.
It's not really CCR. What it is so you have to go get a permit.
Mhm.
And if you don't go get a permit, you can have on agricultural land, you're allowed to have outbuildings, agricultural buildings, like storage buildings, sheds, and all this kind of things, unpermitted.
Right. But they're not dwellings.
Correct. Technically,
Okay.
they're not dwellings. A lot of people were living in these non-dwellings.
Got it.
And so it used to be 600 square feet, and they've just dropped it to 200 square feet.
Oh man. As a dwelling?
No, as storage.
Okay, the outbuildings. Got it.
So as a dwelling, you can build whatever size. You just got to get it permitted.
But the dwelling needs to be a minimum of something?
Well, that's just going to be the minimum of which you could get permitted.
Okay, got it.
I don't know what
that
the
makes
minimum
sense.
you could get permitted. Probably around 300 square feet would probably be the minimum you could get permitted.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a small house. So.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of them out there just like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because a lot of people like to live outside.
Right.
They're not really going in their house to do much but sleep.
Right.
It's a kind of an outdoor kitchen, outdoor living, sleep inside the house, and that's pretty much it.
Yep. I mean, with views like that, it definitely makes sense. So
that's right. Hey, the views. I had a long talk with a buddy of mine, a partner, about, he was like, why are these people so obsessed with the view? And are you familiar with Andrew Huberman at all?
No, not yet.
He's a neuroscientist at Stanford, and he has the Huberman Labs, and he does tons of videos. So of course I found him on YouTube. I didn't go to Stanford, but he makes videos about neuroscience, and he's talking because he's a doctor of neuroscience and ophthalmology.
Okay.
And so he talks about the eyes are the exposed part of the brain. I thought that was pretty trippy because he goes, that's part of your brain.
Right.
That's the only part that can, see out. And so he talks about eye movement to the left and right, looking at large vistas like that, like big views, is incredibly good for mental health, keeping the lateral eye movement.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know all the hormones and stuff that get released, but there's something about the lateral eye movement.
Right.
So like I said, it's a working phone call, Zoom call. So what we've been talking about is, Michael's actually, like I said, we kind of mentor each other. The folks that I've been working with also, So it also kind of turns in almost like a mentoring conversation when we're talking about our business. And this big concept that Michael talks about of permission has been a big recurring theme that we keep talking about because it's important to me. I keep feeling like all of a sudden I have big breakthroughs when all of a sudden I go like, what, why am I, why am I waiting on permission? Why am I trying to get this instead of just doing things? And it's like procrastination is another perfectionism. To create procrastination is like creating this permission. I need somebody to tell me it's done. I need to tell me somebody it's perfect enough before I go on. And this is not actually what I say, but it's kind of going on in the back of my mind somewhere. If I break down the thoughts enough, and if I'm honest with myself enough, that's really what's going on in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not even just the permission to take the next steps in whatever you're doing. I think the ultimate form of it is getting permission to be great, which kind of goes back to the personal branding thing. Like, what are you going to be the best in the world at? And I think the biggest thing that stops people is saying, "Oh, I don't have like my friends or family's permission to be the best in the world at this thing." And especially kind of like what you were saying at the beginning, just with uh like so different partnerships, and it's like there's different people that have mindsets where you're not allowed to scale beyond them type of a thing or any of that type of stuff, where it's just like, no, like I'm just going to give myself permission to be the best in the world at this one thing, whatever that is, whether or not other people want you to be great.
And that permission, I wonder why we're constantly looking for it outside, because it never really seems to come from inside. Finally, eventually, when we do it, when we take the big step of I'm going to launch my own personal brand or whatever the big step is that probably needs to be next in our business, it never comes from someone else going, okay, you can launch your personal brand now.
Yeah. I I feel like, so my theory on it is so much like identity and value is supposed to be taught from your like father growing up. So for me, it's like, I don't know, whatever childhood issues I had, somehow ultimately it's like, okay, I didn't have a real father figure to teach me stuff. So I had to just figure it out on my own. But then you're still constantly like projecting that onto other people or friends or business partners or whoever, being like, oh, will you be like the father in my life that like not just accepts me and goes, I'm proud of you or whatnot, but says like, hey, you have permission to be great at this thing. And I like, um I don't know, it's almost like projecting that onto other people to get permission from them, as if they're that original father figure that was supposed to teach you like, hey, this is who you are and here's how you be great. And it's so weird, even just I mean, going back to the father thing, like looking at even just a last name. Like so many last names are like, oh, you're the archer, you're the blacksmith or whatever. And it's just interesting how like literally their name was that one trade that they were so good at. And it was typically their father that, I mean, if you're a blacksmith, it's your dad's going to teach you how to be the best blacksmith. And the reason that you're the only one that can do that is because he has all this specialized knowledge that was handed down for hundreds of years. And somewhere along the line, we kind of lost that. And now we can't even go back and recreate, I don't know, certain samurai swords if we're talking blacksmith.
Mm, yeah.
And it's just so interesting how that it's supposed was for so long handed down through that line, through fathers and whatnot. And now it's like, okay, I'm going to go become a blacksmith and I'm going to go on YouTube and find this random person who's stepping in as a father teaching me the trade.
Yeah.
But I still need almost like their blessing to go out and do it on my own. And it's almost looking for that, I don't know, father blessing type permission. But we end up getting it from people where it's like, wait, why am I needing their permission to go and be great at whatever it is I'm doing?
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, so silly.
Like we force our like clients and customers and partners and stuff to like, we're going to force you to be my therapist of what I need in my life. So I'm going to force these thoughts onto you that you're not even having or saying.
Right. Yep.
Man, how often do we do that in our relationships?
Yeah, for sure.
That's a crazy one. Wow. Yeah, looking for permission. I like that that we're looking for it in these business relationships. Like we're looking for, it goes back to kind of what I was saying, like the customers are funding my own personal development
Right.
because they want me, because if I don't develop, I won't be able to keep giving them what they want. And it really comes down to, I was thinking about this the other day. It comes down to literally, if I don't do all the stuff I talk about of being high performance, all the small little stuff of getting up early and, watching what I eat and drink and all this kind of thing, and the special things I drink to keep myself energized, and taking cold showers and just a bunch of little stuff like that. Like if I don't do all that, I won't be able to keep up with the schedule of doing all the things I do. And the business will fall apart because it's not an average everyday easy thing to do.
Right.
It's an extraordinary. There's extra. It's not ordinary, it's extra. And
Right.
so that extra that I do, if I stop doing the extra, the business
Then
could
you'd be
slip.
ordinary.
It'd be ordinary, and the business would slip, and those people wouldn't be able to get what I'm giving them.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I think about is I really am responsible to them to develop myself so that I can keep giving them, because it's not just taking their money and like filling out the paper to transfer to them. That's the logistics of it. But I mean, I'm an emotional wreck and I'm constantly worried about all these imposter syndrome and all these things we're talking about, the downfalls of entrepreneurs. That stuff is what's going to stop it. That's the stuff that's going to make a problem for me delivering to my customer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So you're talking about all the extra stuff that you're doing and all these hacks that help you go above and beyond to be extraordinary instead of just ordinary.
Mhm.
And yet, if you're doing that, kind of like going back to what we were talking about before, in certain partnerships or permission from other people, where if they're operating at an ordinary level and you're trying to do all the extra stuff, it would just make it so you don't have their permission to be extraordinary, and it just slows the whole thing down.
All right. So I want to be respectful of your time. I'm glad we've gotten to spend so much time together, and I know it's coming to the end of what we have booked. I like to give a little bit of you didn't give any kind of contact information. You still stay private. You got any contact information you might want to share with the world out there?
No, I think I'll still stay private for this one.
Okay. The secret digital entrepreneur.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is my friend, Michael Long. We've been talking a little bit about branding and giving yourself permission.
Yeah.
Like really paying attention to what you want to go be great at. Focus down on that niche, find out what you can go be great at, then just give yourself permission. Because I tell you what, even if somebody else gave you permission, it wouldn't matter anyway. So let's just go ahead and give ourselves permission. Michael, it was really great to see you. I'm glad you came on the show today.
Yeah, it was great to be on. Thanks for having me.
All right. So until next time, this has been your landman in Hawaii. This is the Hawaii landman, Alex Alexander saying aloha.